Welcome back to week 2 of the DDI, and you are getting to witness a match that I'm actually a part of here. I am Bobby, or Frolicker VGC, on the right side here, going up against my good friend Alexa. And I have got a Perish Trap team here in our Pokemon Battle Revolution drafted abilities and move tournament, and you can kind of see that Cresselia and Celebi basically are the core of my team. However, my team is really threatened by what Alexa has on the left side there for this matchup. So you can see that Darkrai and Azelf, this was something I thought was hilarious and amazing when Alexa drafted it. And you know what? Honestly, I think it's a lot less amazing now that I have to face it, because those two have plus and minus. And I think what makes this team so specifically scary for my team is that Darkrai is able to easily one-shot both of my Trick Room setters in Celebi and Cresselia. This is a Choice Specs Darkrai plus-minus boosted, so basically all of its attacks do double damage that it would naturally do, and it's already this super strong legendary Pokemon. Azelf is also going to do a ton of damage, and if I try and use Fake Out to stop the Darkrai, Azelf, of course, can just KO my Hitmontop. So this is a really tricky situation for me. I put a bit of thought into my leads in advance. However, I think there is something I didn't fully account for that we might talk about here in a moment. You can kind of see Darkrai is threatening a one-hit KO on Cresselia. It's also got a whole bunch of other really threatening moves. It's got Alexa on her team has Snow Warning and Blizzard. Here I go for Protect on Cresselia, and I'm just going to let you know the reason I do that is because I'm trying to use Snorlax to get rid of both Mons, and it's does not quite go to plan on my end. So basically, my thought process here was, I think that since my two trapping Pokemon, so Cresselia has got Shadow Tag, meaning that Azelf and Darkrai cannot switch, and I also have Celebi with Arena Trap, so if either one is on the field, which is likely to be the case for the entire game, both those mons can't switch. So I kind of was making the call, it's really difficult for Alexa to lock into Focus Blast there. Because if I do something like I Protect with both, then all of a sudden Darkrai is just kind of a sitting duck for the rest of the game. The issue there is, though, if I Protect with both and Alexa locks into Dark Pulse, I'm in a horrible position. And then, also, as well, I think basically, like, when I was, like, testing and going over these matchups in advance, this seemed like a pretty solid plan for me. It's like, locking into Focus Blast, turn 1 is just such a difficult move for Alexa to pull. However, Azelf has Taunt. And I think that was something I didn't really think about too much going into this matchup, was the idea that Focus Blast and Taunt was just a very safe play turn 1, that Azelf was still kind of able to do stuff, and because of that combination, Focus Blast was a safe click as long as I didn't do something like Protect with both, which would have been a difficult call for me to make turn 1. So Alexa makes a really good play. Unfortunately, hits a Focus Blast both of the first 2 turns, and I'm in a pretty bad position here. So here, yeah, we've got Trick Room is now up, as you can see. I brought in a Hitmontop, faked out the Azelf so I could safely set up Trick Room, and which would not have worked if Darkrai was locked into Dark Pulse, because Cresselia just would have gone down there. Hitmontop almost went down to Focus Blast, which is absurd. That's just a huge amount of damage coming off of this Darkrai. And now I kind of had a bit of an option here. I could go for Close Combat on Darkrai and KO it, or I could try and go for the kill on Azelf, but I don't quite get it. Fake Out, I saw, did enough damage to where that Sucker Punch was definitely a range, and yeah, I didn't quite get the rolls here. Actually, Thunderbolt ends up going on to Cresselia, which surprised me here, which means Hitmontop does have a chance to live. Unfortunately, this Choice Specs Darkrai has now hit those 3 Focus Blasts in a row, and things are really not looking good on my end. So basically, I've got my 2 support Pokemon left, Alexa has not lost a Mon. I've got Trick Room up, and I have Azelf low, but I don't have a whole lot to show for any work I've put in here. So I have to think pretty carefully here about how I want to manage it. But, I mean, even if I play this really well, I know that I'm very unlikely to win. And basically, I knew for this game I had to get turn 1 right, and I did not. Was kind of what was happening on my end there. So here, oh yeah, Azelf cannot switch out because I've got 2 trapping Pokemon on the field right now. Azelf goes down. That's just the biggest threat, because now the Darkrai is actually not that big of an issue. Because, like, yes, it was able to pick up 2 KOs single-handedly. It basically wrecked a hole through my entire team, ruined my day. However, now, that plus-minus boost is gone, and it's locked into Focus Blast. So that's kind of the one bright side in all of this for me. I basically can just, for the rest of the game, deal with whatever slot is not that Darkrai. I mean, the Focus Blast damage will add up, unfortunately. But that is kind of the one bright side. We can see here that Alexa in the back has got Slacking and Regice, and Alexa chooses to bring out Slacking. So this is pretty big because I do have Trick Room up. So I basically have got a couple options. Again, this is a draft league where we basically allowed moves and abilities to be drafted for different mons, but for Slacking specifically, we thought it would be too powerful to give it an ability. So Alexa's Slacking his skill swap here, and I could have doubled up into the Slacking. However, I'm just really afraid of getting skill swapped, having one of my Pokemon get Truant. Basically, I'd lose the game on the spot if that were the case. So Alexa can make a really cool play here if she chooses to skill swap with Darkrai. However, that is not the choice she chooses to make, and that means that this next turn, Slacking is going to be just a sitting duck. The unfortunate thing for me, though, is that even though Slacking is a sitting duck on this turn, next turn, Trick Room is going to end, and I'm not going to be able to attack before it. And that opens up kind of the mind games of, is Slacking going to attack me that turn? Could it side skill swap then? So Slacking is still kind of exerting a lot of pressure here. The Darkrai is not really. So I kind of have a decision to make. This is the last turn of Trick Room here. I Psychic. I don't exactly know how much this double up is going to do because both these Mons are kind of my support Pokemon. However, the double up is enough to KO, which I was a little bit surprised at. So now, all of a sudden, I've evened things up. However, Celebi for the rest of the game, since Celebi's only attacking move is Leaf Storm, Celebi's now special attack is halved. And so Celebi's not doing a lot of damage, similar to how Darkrai is going to be hitting not very effectively every single turn, is not going to be doing a lot of damage. And in comes Regice. So here, the issue is that Regice has got 200 base special defense. And I know there's absolutely no way I can KO this Pokemon. There's no world in which Cresselia and Celebi, especially with Celebi at half special attack, are going to KO this Regice, even if I were to crit every single move. So, we kind of have to look for alternate win conditions. And if you've been paying attention to kind of my team's setup, if you tuned in last week, or if you were just kind of aware of why someone might want 2 trapping abilities on their team, you might know that my team doesn't always try and KO the opposing Pokemon. And so all of a sudden, I think just because the Slacking went down without getting a lot of mileage, we're now not in that bad a spot. It's definitely possible. It's not a guarantee by any stretch. Yeah, and Cresselia getting attacked there. And now we get to see kind of the speed order here. So Darkrai is, of course, the fastest, then Celebi, then Cresselia, and then after Cresselia, we have Regice. So here's the tricky thing. The way Perish Song works is that in 3 turns, the game is going to end guaranteed, unless Alexa is able to KO both of my Pokemon and end the game earlier. Assuming all the Pokemon are still on the field, the Pokemon are going to faint in order of speed. So Darkrai will faint first, then Celebi, then Cresselia, then Regice. If that happens, the Pokemon that faints last is going to win. Oh, someone, that might have been me, almost accidentally clicked the wrong button there. So basically, you want to have the slowest Pokemon on the field right now. And right now, that is Alexa with the slowest Pokemon on the field in Regice. That is really bad for me. I basically, by Perish Songing there, almost guaranteed I would lose. However, you may see that even though this Darkrai is doing nothing, I have now focused it down the last couple turns with all of my attacks. Which may seem like kind of a very, very odd choice there. The reason for that is now the fastest Pokemon on the field is Celebi, the slowest is Regice, and what that means is, yes, if the game were to end this turn, if Perish Song were to go down, then Alexa would win. However, if I am able to get a Trick Room up, that is going to reverse the speed order and actually give me the fastest Pokemon, actually make my fastest Pokemon the slowest Pokemon on the field. And this would actually allow me to win the game. That is why most Perish Trap teams are going to have Trick Room somewhere. But you may also notice Cresselia is very, very low. My light screen just ran out. And basically, here's the situation. One of these next two turns, I have to click Trick Room with Cresselia. Cresselia has got to take a hit from this Regice. The question is, can it live? Can it live? Can it get the attack off? I have to reset light screen. Celebi kind of doesn't matter at this stage, because if I'm able to get the Trick Room up, I can protect the next turn. Blizzard comes out into the Celebi. Celebi barely is able to survive, gets frozen, but again, that doesn't matter. What matters is the Cresselia, and Cresselia dodges the Blizzard, gets the Trick Room set up, and basically, this game looked absolutely doomed. I did not think I had a prayer in this game basically the whole time. Even in this endgame, I wasn't very confident. But now, you can see that the first Pokemon to faint is going to be Regice. The last Pokemon to faint is going to be Celebi, except it'll probably actually die to Blizzard this turn, most likely. But since Cresselia is not frozen, Cresselia can protect here, and that should guarantee me the win. So this was an absolute roller coaster of a battle. Protect is going to stall out the last turn of Perish Song here, take us to the end game. Does Celebi go down here? It doesn't actually matter, but it matters to Celebi, you know. Never. Okay. Rest in peace, Celebi. Fantastic work. And from nowhere, basically from like the worst possible start I could imagine in a doubles Pokemon game, we are able to claw back here. So you can see that Regice is going to go down to Perish Song there. Regice goes down first because of that Trick Room. It's not a speed tie, nothing like that. Cresselia is going to go down second, and so with a differential of 0 for this match, and a total differential of +1 in 2 matches, I do clinch my second win in this tournament. Except, you may have noticed something odd just popped up on the screen there. I may try and let's see if we can isolate that. What was that word that was up there? Let's see if we can see it. Yeah, because I don't think it said a win there. It seemed to say draw, which definitely caught me off guard there. So basically, since I believe Perish Song was introduced in Gen 2. I might be wrong on some of this. I'll probably add a little blurb on the screen if I'm wrong. I believe Perish Song was introduced in Gen 2. And in Generation 3, I believe how it goes is they introduced the fact that Pokemon faint in order of their speed. And if you have the final Pokemon who faints, you technically win that battle. And then they kept that in Generation 4. So if you're playing someone in a Link battle in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, and you are in a Perish Song endgame, the slowest Pokemon is going to win. And so I was doing some testing for this tournament in Pokemon Showdown, so that's what I saw. I saw that Parasong worked just like the way it does in Gen 9, where Pokemon faint in speed order. So I was really surprised when we were playing this tournament, and after feeling like I managed the endgame really well, we end up with a draw. Yeah, Pokemon Battle Revolution is just different. I mean, that's, I think, the only conclusion I was able to reach in the end is that in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum, Parasong works the way I expect, and in Pokemon Battle Revolution, it has its own rules. Because I think, basically, like, since it's so battle-focused, Pokemon Battle Revolution, they kind of do have specific options you can click for, like, does it, using Explosion as your, to end the match, cause an auto loss, or can it cause a draw? They also have an option where you can select where if, like, your last Pokemon on the field can use Parasong. So we allowed that to happen in the tournament, of course, and we just assumed that Parasong would work just like it does in the Gen 4 games. However, I think for Pokemon Battle Revolution specifically, they specifically programmed it to where Parasong ends in a draw if everything dies by Parasong at the end, which is something I think they specifically did for this game. And so I think this surprised, I think, everyone at the tournament. I don't think any of us really knew that it would go down this way. But basically, drawing this game is sad, but, like, at the end of the day, I'll take it. What really hurts is my team is built around Parastrap, and all of a sudden, one of my biggest tools for winning games via Parastrap is now gone, because I can't win via speed order. I have to win via Mon advantage. And that is kind of a disaster for my team for this tournament. It's a win condition, gone, and everyone else knows it's gone too. The one perk is I can force a draw. And what's very funny is if you look at this table, yeah, we've got some draws on the board now. So you may have been wondering why that category was even included at the start. And here's why. Now we are moving on to the second match of this group for week 2. And we have got Rain against Hard Trick Room here. It's actually really funny. I think in the group that I'm in alongside MJK and Alexa, I think every Pokemon that knows Trick Room in the tournament is in our group. Which is very funny, because MJ has got that option in Jirachi. MJ's got a really, really cool Jirachi with Dry Skin, basically unkillable, and a really great support moveset. And Kay has got a Trick Room team centered around Mesprit to set up Trick Room, and Rhyperior to sweep. And Kay has got some really cool options with Mew and Breloom in support specifically. So it's interesting to see what Kay is going to bring to this one, because basically, yeah, it's like, I think the big questions I have are, is Kay going to be able to set up Trick Room once or multiple times? I think for MJ, if MJ is able to limit it to only one Trick Room, that's going to be huge. And if it is only one Trick Room for Kay, how much mileage can they get out of it? Because I think one thing that is a little bit tough for Kay on their own team is I believe Mesprit's the only Trick Room user on their team. And Mesprit, I think, is still really strong. It's got some bulk. I think is going to be EV'd specifically to live a whole lot of things. And can last a while, but Kay may need to get a lot of mileage out of it in this matchup. So, turn 1, Mew has got Fake Out into the Amistar. Even though the Amistar protects, that's still, I think, a lot of value from the Mew for Kay's side of the field there. Because, yeah, it enables the Trick Room, and if that Water Spout went off and MJ was able to target both Mons, that is horrible for Kay. So we saw in round 1 that in Pokemon Battle Revolution in Gen 4, Follow Me actually goes before Fake Out. However, MJ does not have Follow Me anywhere on their team. K has got 2 fake out users, and that's just a huge advantage K has. I think specifically in this matchup, K can potentially fake out cycle really effectively against MJ's troops. Ooh, we get to see Shedinja. Oh, that is so exciting. So Shedinja, of course, is not going to be affected by that psychic. Oh my gosh, I'm wondering what K went for with Mew. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, does it? Because that is a critical hit. I think we saw last time that Mew was never going to go down to that Thunder without a critical hit. And also really interesting, that's the first time we saw that even though K's team is centered around Trick Room, Zapdos is actually going to be slower than Mew, which is really, really surprising as well. And so, yeah, if Mew had gone first and potentially have gone for a U-turn into Zapdos, then Rhyperior could have come in, and then all of a sudden MJ's on the back foot. But it's almost like MJ got that KO for free, pretty much, because of the speed order there. When otherwise you might have expected it to have come at quite a bit of a cost. MJ might have expected that Mesprit to be the one to U-turn out as well, so that K could preserve it. But I think K was wanting to probably U-turn out with the Mew so that K could fake out cycle later on in the tournament there. So here we see a Rock Slide. That would not have killed the Shedinja because of Focus Sash, but it could have flinched or could have missed the Sleep Powder. So I think Sleep Powder was, which is the drafted move on Shedinja, was a huge threat there. Because, yeah, I mean, that's just an absolutely huge threat into Rhyperior to potentially just win the game on the spot almost at this point. However, MJ didn't want to risk it because it was going to be a very, very low accuracy with the Rock Slide flinch chance and with the Sleep Powder miss chance there. So what's actually really interesting is Mew has got Will-O-Wisp, which of course can hit Shedinja. However, and Rhyperior can hit Shedinja. However, Mew is down, and I think we've seen a couple times, it's a bit hard to spot, but K does have Machamp in the back, which I don't believe has got a move to hit Shedinja as well. So all of a sudden, this can be... Oh, wow. Okay. That is really big. So I think that was a fake out from Hariyama, which, yeah, in Trick Room could have been a really threatening Mon. However, Mesprit, the Trick Room setter, is able to go on the offense here and knock it out. It's a really, really big turn for K there. Because, yeah, that Hariyama was very, very threatening. So, yeah, basically, though, since that Mew went down... Again, if that Mew was, like, slower than Zapdos, which is, I think, what both players might have expected, it's certainly what I would have expected watching this match. If Mew was slower, then we have the potential of Mew still being an option for K, having that fake-out pivot, being able to kind of use that really effectively, and most importantly, Mew, again, with Will-O-Wisp, can just KO Shedinja in one turn. That's kind of the, honestly, in my opinion, the biggest thing that Mew offers here. The ability to KO that Shedinja, because now, if Rhyperior gets slept, if Rhyperior goes down, it's kind of just game over. And there is an Amistar in the back as well to very much threaten this Rhyperior. So Shedinja is able to hang on with Focus Sash, and that surprises me a little bit. Shedinja goes for the KO rather than going for the Sleep Powder on Rhyperior, because I think Sleep Powder might have just won you the game, to be honest, because I think Shedinja might have been able to stall out things, and Amistar could have potentially KO'd the Rhyperior at some point. But Trick Room is going to go down. That does actually put Mesprit in range there. So yeah, Mesprit, that Bug Bite does basically guarantee that K's not going to be able to get another Trick Room up. So that was really big that there was no flinch there on MJ's side. Yeah, and MJ's definitely at the advantage here. Again, I think that Mew going down when it did, and like a lot of very specific things needed to happen in order to take the Mew down there. The Mew going down when it did was just absolutely huge. So MJ going for a Protect, I think... Okay, and then Thunder into Mesprit. I think what MJ's mindset here is, because again, I think if MJ went for Sleep Powder there, and I think if MJ was able to put Rhyperior to sleep, I think MJ wins the game immediately. However, I think MJ's thought... That is adaptability rock slide into the Zapdos, and Zapdos is able to hang on with 10 HP. Oh my gosh. I mean, this Zapdos clearly by MJ was trained to be slower and bulkier, and both of those decisions have ended up being just absolutely vital in this specific matchup. What I was going to say is, if Shedinja is able to get the Sleep Powder on Rhyperior, then MJ should immediately win. However, if Shedinja ever misses a Sleep Powder, that does open up the possibility for MJ to kind of immediately lose the game as well. And so I think MJ is being really conservative with the Shedinja, knowing that MJ can kind of delay that moment of truth, can kind of delay the Sleep Powder into the Rhyperior moment. Alright, but here MJ didn't think they could delay it anymore. Sleep Powder lands into Rhyperior, and honestly, yeah, if that missed, that was just game. Because if that missed, then that was going to be a Rock Slide from Rhyperior. Both Pokemon would have gone down, assuming it hit. It just would have been Amistar. That would have been really interesting. Because then that's a matter of, does Amistar one-hit KO Machamp? Because you'd assume that Amistar would, in fact, one-hit KO Rhyperior with Water Spout, but would it one-hit KO Machamp as well? That would be a really interesting situation. However, here, I think K is just kind of in Dreamland a little bit, where, where basically, assuming the Amistar can get a hit onto this Rhyperior at some point in time, MJ is going to win this game. So Bullet Punch comes out, it's going to KO the Zapdos, we're going to get Amistar in, and yeah, here's where it does get interesting. Because, yeah, how conservatively does MJ want to play this? How aggressive do you go? Because if you do something like Protect with the Amistar for extra burn ship, and Rhyperior wakes up and KOs the Shedinja, you could find yourself in a losing position here. And so yeah, it's just also a question of how much damage can Machamp take? How much damage can it do? If this Machamp can get an attack off, that could be big for K, because a Drain Punch could potentially KO Amistar here. I don't believe it's got... Oh, no, it does have Surf as well, which could be really big into the Rhyperior. So let's see. Shadow Sneak's gonna go into Rhyperior. No Protect from the Shedinja. That's interesting. And then we're going to have Bullet Punch from Machamp. That is very, very interesting. I think K would have needed a critical hit for that to help out too much here, because this Water Spout is still going to do a ton. And, yep, the Rhyperior is going to go down. And that is actually game. There is no way that K can win this from here on out. I think even if MJ were trying to help K win, I don't think there's a way MJ could accomplish that other than by forfeiture, because Amistar can't damage Shedinja, Machamp can't damage Shedinja, Shedinja doesn't have means to damage itself, actually, and so I think this is all wrapped up, and Shedinja, who I think was the star of this battle here, is going to KO Machamp with Shadow Sneak. That was a really, really interesting match, though, because, yeah, it came down to a Shedinja win con in the end, but it was also, like, kind of a matter of MJ trying to manage the percentages and not use Sleep Powder and Trick Room, MJ trying to position the Shedinja to where it was most likely to win, and then also just that Mew going down early. If the Mew had been able to hang on, and K had that fake out later in the game, or had that ability to damage Shedinja later in the game, we're looking at a completely different match here. So that was a really, really interesting one. I think quite unfortunate by K to have the Mew go down. That was really kind of the pivotal moment in the end when that Mew went down in that game. Because again, if that was a slow Mew, which is almost what I'd normally expect, but I think with some conversations with K just about the tournament in advance, I could tell that K really valued, I think, a fast fake out from Mew, so that might have been kind of their thought process there. Yeah, no, that Mew going down there was absolutely huge, because if that was a slower Mew, or if that was a fast Zapdos, again, completely different match. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to be back with more matches as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to like and subscribe. We are a super small channel, It's really just me behind the scenes trying to get all these matches out there. And so basically, it's like, I see all your comments, all the support for the last few videos has meant so much. And yeah, and again, it's like, I think there's a bit of a break between this upload and the last one. Again, I'm trying to get these out as quick as I can, but I'm just one person, so sometimes life gets in the way a little bit. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. It genuinely means a ton. Have a good one.